Hello there guys, welcome to another of my live videos, and today I'm just be officially updating you on some more latest news. So Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is under immense pressure at Manchester United, obviously reflecting on our really bad start to the season. Obviously we are enjoying our worst start to a Premier League season for 3 decades. Obviously the last time we enjoyed a bad start as a season to a season as this season, obviously was it in 1989 and 1990. Obviously we are only sitting 2 points above relegation, so you can quite frankly say we are facing a relegation battle. And it's now 11 away games that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's had at Manchester United, without a win. The last time we did win away from home was obviously against PSG last season, of course, when we did produce that miraculous comeback. And I think, we actually now have the fourth worst record in the Premier League, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, got the job permanently. Like I mentioned, we've only registered 17 points from our last 17 games. I think it's only Southampton, Brighton and Watford that, of course, have worse records than Manchester United. So that just indicates how far, the club are, at the moment. We've been a toxic football club anyway, for the last 6 or 7 years. And the last 6 or 7 years and that, and it's just not good enough, to quite honestly. But there's still some people out there, that do have sympathy, for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because obviously, this in this generation, this team is actually, the worst Manchester United team I've seen for a lot of years. Like I did say, reflecting back under the Alex Ferguson era, we had a fantastic team because obviously, Ferguson, developed a lot of young players. And like I said, now we're no longer in the Alex Ferguson era. This is a new era, with different players and different groups that, of course, we are building. But obviously now we've got the vast majority of Manchester United fans demanding Ole Gunnar Solskjaer out of the football club. They're not only demanding Solskjaer out, they've also, been demanding Ed Woodward out. Obviously, a lot of United fans are criticising the board, and, recently Gary Neville, would criticise the board, and he had every right, to criticise the board, because, I think the vast majority of the blame does stem from the board, with our inconsistency, because obviously, the board, that in my opinion have been a liability for years. Obviously, the board, obviously, didn't back Ole Gunnar Solskjaer enough during the summer, and the board have just, they're just are responsible in my opinion. Obviously, with the poor recruitment, obviously, with the poor selection of managers and that. So I think the board is the more of the blame stems from the board, definitely, than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and that. But I think I blame everybody. So it is a mixture in that aspect. Obviously, a lot of players have got to take a responsibility, because they're not playing with any passion. They're showing no heart, they're showing no desire. We aren't seeing any fluidity. We're not scoring enough goals. I think we look totally exposed in that attacking their line. We're struggling to create chances. I think we've failed to register a single shot on target in the last couple of games, and it's just not good enough. So these the vast majority. These a lot of players that have performed their way below par so far this season. So the majority of this Manchester United team do need a reality check. Definitely some of the blame does stem from Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, because reflecting on our bad performances, he's definitely accountable for some of that. Obviously, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tactics are questionable. Obviously, I will admit, Manchester United are very tactically inept. I think as a manager, he hasn't got, that intuition as Solskjaer. What I mean is that he hasn't really got that managerial experience to the highest level, and I do believe, he isn't good enough, to succeed as a manager. Obviously, before Solskjaer came to Manchester United, obviously, he managed Mould, obviously won a couple of Norwegian titles with Mould. Obviously, he had a really short tenure of Cardiff. He actually, got Cardiff relegated, and, taking that into the equation, he could be compatible in that aspect if he was to stay at Manchester United for this season, because actually, he could also, get us relegated, believe it or not. But I just don't think Solskjaer, is good enough as a manager. We know Manchester United have not been relegated for over 40 odd years now. Like I mentioned, the last time we was relegated, obviously, was back in 1974. But like I did say, I do feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in a way, because I think, like I mentioned, the club put him into a very, very difficult position. I always said, we should have never given Ole Gunnar Solskjaer the job. And I think basically, he just isn't good enough, to succeed as a manager. And obviously, Solskjaer is our fourth permanent manager since the Alex Ferguson era. And like I did recently mention that, we haven't really got the structure to keep sacking managers. We're not really known for sacking football football club. And I do really, feel sorry for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, but I think Ed Woodward and that, and, he's starting to lose patience with him. Like recent reports have indicated out saying that, we've set a deadline for him basically. If we do lose to Norwich at the end of this month, I think it has been assured that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer will be sacked as Manchester United manager. And of course, unless we get hammered by Liverpool, which is obviously not our next league game after the international break. Obviously, it's been revealed that it will cost the club around £7 million to sack Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think £7 million is actually, is it around half than what we paid, Jose. Well, no, than what we paid Jose Mourinho, obviously, to sack him, because I think we paid around, was it £20 million, to get rid of Jose Mourinho. But, like I said, there's still certain pundits out there, maybe certain Manchester United fans that still believe that, we should give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, a bit more time at the football club at least. Some people are saying, we should give him at least, a couple of more windows, to see who else he can recommend into the football club. And obviously, we are aware that, obviously, further more investment is needed in the squad. Obviously, I do credit Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in certain aspects. Obviously, he did recommend 3 good players to the squad during the summer. Obviously, we spent nearly £150 million. Obviously, he's got a lot of faith in his young upcoming players. But there's still some people saying, that he does need to be given time at the football club. But obviously, we know now in this generation that obviously, managers, don't get the time, that they would like. And that obviously we know now that the boards are a lot more ruthless. So Solskjaer's been at Manchester United overall just under a year. Obviously, Solskjaer got recommended in December of last year, obviously with the dismissal of Jose Mourinho. And obviously, Solskjaer in that what came in as the interim manager at the first. Obviously, he was interim manager for 3 months, and in that 3-month period, Solskjaer did really, really well. The results were good, the performances were good. He got the best out of these group of players, and he exceeded expectations and that. And obviously, we got a glimpse of the Alex Ferguson days when he was the interim manager, and we won 14 out of 19 in total. Then obviously, Solskjaer got the job in March earlier on this year, and ever since then, everything has just seemed to have all gone wrong. Don't forget, Solskjaer is on a 3-year contract. Don't forget them. But like I mentioned, he isn't good enough for Manchester United. But everything, has to improve. Everything has to improve. I think, our home form needs to improve. Our away form needs to improve. A lot of players need to improve. Everything needs to improve. The style of play needs to improve, because the style of play is also atrocious. Since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer got the job permanently, we've only won 5 of our last 23 games. So that's obviously now really, really bad. But yeah, like I mentioned, a lot of United fans will say now, we should have waited until, the end of last season or some part of this season, to give him the job. But in my opinion, we shouldn't have given him the job in the first place. But yeah, we are now sitting 12th in the league, and I did mention, reflecting on the amount of money that's been invested into this football club. A lot of money has been spent on Manchester United, and also reflecting on the history of this football club. We should be much more of a commanding position, than we're in now. Obviously, we know that we've obviously got injuries. Manchester United have got some injuries. The good news is, I think a lot of the vast majority of our players that are injured now are expected to regain full fitness for the game against Liverpool. So I expect Martial to be back. I expect Luke Shaw to be back. Pogba should be back. Wan-Bissaka and that, should be back. So that's a boost. But you can't use injuries as an excuse, with our bad run of performances and that. We've already lost 3 games so far this season out of our 8 league games. And we've lost to teams that we shouldn't have lost to. We lost at home to Palace. We lost away at West Ham 2-0. And we lost recently, to Newcastle 1-0. And this season, we've scored 1 goal in every single game we've scored in prior to the Chelsea game. Because obviously we scored 4 against Chelsea on the opening day of the Premier League season. But we're enjoying a worse season this season than what we saw last season. And last season was bad enough, because last season we finished 6th. Obviously, we failed to qualify for the Champions League, and I think last season was the lowest we've finished. Since the David Moyes era. But it's actually worse this season. It's actually very, very embarrassing in that. But like I did say, I do believe, everyone is to blame, because of our inconsistency. But I did initially say at the end of the last season, and I said at the start of this season, if Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure is to last at Manchester United, obviously he's got to exceed expectation levels at the football club. He's got to, meet them procedures and that. And, I said, our expectations this season will be to finish in that top four and perhaps maybe win some silverware, because obviously the club want to get back into the Champions League and that. And obviously, I don't think we're going to get top four this season. The way things are going at the moment, we're not even going to get in the top eight. Solskjaer's obviously casted doubts about the top six. But Solskjaer, recently gave his overarching view on it, on the situation with Man United. And, I like Solskjaer's honesty as well. He's honest about a lot of things. But he's actually said, according to him, that, the situation isn't as bad as the 4-0 loss to Everton last season. Obviously, that 4-0 defeat against Everton came back in April, which was obviously earlier on this year. After that particular game, obviously, Solskjaer had come out and made a public apology, which was obviously now very, very good. But yeah, he isn't good enough, for Manchester United. I am afraid to say that. But yeah, he has got that proven pedigree as a player, because Solskjaer was a fantastic player for the football club. He flourished under Alex Ferguson's guidance. Obviously, Solskjaer, scored 126 goals in 366 appearances for the club in all competitions. Obviously, one of his most iconic moments as a player obviously was back in 1999. Of course, when the club won the treble. That's obviously the club's greatest achievement in that. But yeah, I think if we lose heavily to Liverpool, then I think that will be enough to end Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's tenure at the football club. Despite the fact a lot of players have left, since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's arrival, I still believe, these are more problematic players at the football club. And, I think, there has been mistakes that Manchester United have done. I think, one of the mistakes was, we shouldn't have got rid of Ander Herrera. Obviously, we do know that Ander Herrera left on a free transfer earlier on in the summer, and we shouldn't have let Ander Herrera go at all. But I was even more infuriated that we did let him go on a free transfer, because Ander Herrera was arguably, one of our best players since the Alex Ferguson and Herrera. But like I mentioned, Italy's been a very, very popular destination, for the vast majority of our players this summer that have left, because quite a lot of them have gone to Italy. Obviously, where we have loaned some players out. Maybe some people will say it was a mistake getting rid of Romelu Lukaku, because he was a proven goal scorer as Romelu Lukaku in the Premier League, and Lukaku had 2 years with Manchester United. Obviously, he initially left the club because obviously he lost his place in the team, to Marcus Rashford, and that was obviously Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's preference. But Lukaku, he scored 42 goals in 96 games for the club in all competitions. He scored, I think, 27 goals in all competitions in his first season with Man U. He did really, really well in his first season. He was exceptional in his first season, but obviously, didn't really replicate that in his second season. I was happy with the money, we generated from his departure, because we basically recouped the money that we did pay for him from Everton a couple of years ago. But, I definitely think we need to recruit a replacement for Romelu Lukaku. We need to add more inspiration in that attacking third of the pitch, because like I mentioned earlier, we look so exposed following the dismissal of Lukaku and Sanchez. Obviously, with the injury of Anthony Martial. Obviously, Rashford's, on a bad run of form. He for the majority of this season, he's been performing way below par. Obviously, Mason Greenwood, he's just obviously come up the ranks, and he's obviously just recently, not too long ago, broke into the senior squad and that. But Mason Greenwood, you can still quite frankly say, he's a kid and he's still in the process of developing. So maybe at the moment, Mason Greenwood, won't be, that reliable and that, because obviously we need to see more development in him and that. Obviously he needs to get more game time under his belt, so we definitely need to recruit a replacement for Romelu Lukaku and that. And I'm glad we got rid of Alexis Sanchez. I'm really, really happy that we got rid of him. We got rid of him on loan, obviously. I did say, that's the only way we would have got rid of Sanchez, obviously, putting him out on loan, because obviously we couldn't get rid of him permanently, reflecting on the substantial wages he was on and that. He was on about £500,000 a week, in total. Even though he's on loan with Inter Milan, though, we're still paying the vast majority of Sanchez's wages. I still believe, where we're paying him around 300 grand a week. But I'm glad, he went. I wasn't surprised, that Darmian left the football club. I wasn't surprised he left the football club, but I'm actually surprised, of how much we let him go for, because, we let him go for next to nothing. And like I did say, if we'd have got rid of him a year ago, maybe even a couple of years ago, I think we could have at least recouped the money that we did pay for him from Torino back in 2015, because we paid just over £12 million for him under the Louis van Gaal and Maria and that. So yeah, we overpaid for him, let him go for next to nothing. And we're known for doing that. We're known for overpaying for players and then letting them go to next to nothing. We've done it in recent years. There's been prime examples of it this summer. Smalling went out on loan to Roma. Wasn't surprised about that because obviously with the arrival of Harry Maguire, he initially lost his place in the team anyway. And, we have got. Despite the fact that Chris Smalling went out on loan, we have still got 6 centre-backs in the team, don't forget. But he went on loan to Roma for just under 3 million. And obviously, Valencia left the football club at the end of last season after he served 10 years at Manchester United. But for me, there is still problematic players at the football club. And in my opinion, obviously you've got Matic, he's not good enough for Manchester United. You've got Matic now that's into his 3rd season as a Manchester United player, and I think he's made about 90 appearances for the club in all competitions. Obviously, the vast majority of his appearances have come in the Premier League, but he has played quite a lot this season. Well, recently he's played quite a lot, mainly due to the absence of Paul Pogba. But for me, Matic isn't good enough. He's aging up, he's too old, he's too slow, and he's just not a good midfielder. He's Matic. We have seen glimpses, of how good he can be. But he's just not good enough, and I think any of our midfielders are much better options than Matic. Matic, of course, has got under a year left on his contract, so his current contract expires at the end of the season. But actually, the football club, do have an option, to extend it by a further year. But yeah, I want to see him go in January or next summer. Obviously, you've got Jones. Obviously, I think he's another problematic player at the football club. Jones has been a long-serving player at Manchester United. He's now into his 9th season at Man United. We have seen glimpses over the years of how good he can be. Jones has obviously been here since the Alex Ferguson era, but I think he's another problematic player at the football club. Like I mentioned, the likes of Jones, Rojo and that, they will get their opportunities more in the Cup in the Europa League games, but obviously they won't get many opportunities in the Premier League because obviously Ole Gunnar Solsjaker's first choice is Harry Maguire and Victor Lindelof. With Rojo, obviously, he was subjected to transfer speculation early on this summer. Obviously, and I think if you do remember rightly, Everton had inquired about getting him on deadline day. Don't forget also too, quite a few other clubs went in for Rojo, and if we could get rid of him in January or next summer, we could cash in for Rojo, and we can also cash in for Jones, because Jones signed a new long-term contract last season. Rojo's just got under 2 years left on his current deal, so I think they're another couple of players we need to move on. I don't think Ashley Young's good enough. Well, he was back. I think in his first couple of seasons when, at Manchester United when he was a lot younger, of course, I thought he did really, really well. But obviously now, Ashley Young has passed his sell-by date, and that's obviously reflects on his age. Young is now, 34 years of age. I think he's 35 next year. So you can quite frankly say anywhere, Young is coming to an end of his footballing career. Don't forget he signed a new 1-year extension last season. Young's actually been playing on a regular basis quite recently, mainly due to the absence of Luke Shaw. Yeah, but there is still, for me, players that do need to leave the football club. But we did get rid of a lot of the deadwood, during the summer, which was obviously now very, very good. And, I think, I've been disappointed with a lot of players this season. They haven't, done really, really well. They haven't performed to the standards as they expected. Like I mentioned, I've been very, very disappointed with Marcus Rashford. Now, don't get me wrong, he's accountable for his bad performances without a shadow of a doubt, but I still say he's a long-term solution for Man United because he's, still 21 or is he 22 years of age, but Rashford has mainly enjoyed a difficult time this season in comparison, to his time, when he first broke into the senior squad, and so far, Rashford has spent the entirety of his career with Manchester United. But yeah, I've been very, very disappointed about him. So he really, really needs to step up to the plate because don't forget he's a first team regular. He's Rashford. Like I mentioned about Jesse Lingard, he's also another player that needs to step up to the plate because, he's also been very, very disappointing this season. Don't forget, he recently, sustained a hamstring injury, Jesse Lingard. And, like I mentioned, reflecting on his status at the football club, he should be, putting much more better performances out. Paul Pogba, he's actually played the vast majority of our games this season. He's been, for the majority of this season being very, very poor, when he has played in them. Obviously he has been injured, recently. Obviously, he missed the last 2 games, he probably, due to the recurrence of his, foot injury that he sustained against Southampton earlier on in the season. But Paul Pogba's performed nowhere near to the standards as we all expected, and he hasn't replicated at Man United, what he did at Juventus, because don't forget, Paul Pogba did have 4 good years at Juventus. So when he regains full fitness, he also needs to step up to the plate. I'm glad we convinced Paul Pogba to stay at the football club at least for this summer. Obviously, with our failure to get a midfielder in, throughout the course of the summer, but I'm glad he stayed for this season. But I think he'll, go in January or next summer. Like recent reports have been speculating out. You've got now Paul Pogba, demanding 600 grand a week from the football club, and 600 grand a week equates to around £30 million a year. And I can't see Man United, willing to meet his, wage demands in that, even though, we had a massive club with massive revenues and we probably, have got the financial power to meet those wage demands, but, I just can't see the club willing to do that. I think that's the only way he'll extend his contract. I think we've spoken with Paul Pogba's agent, Mini Raiola, obviously, to discuss his future and the possibility of renewing his contract, but Paul Pogba at the moment has got 2 years left in his current deal at Manchester United with an option to extend it by a further year. Paul Pogba in his current deal at the moment is on just under 300 grand a week, so in that aspect he is one of the highest paid players at the football club. But he needs to improve. I think also Andres Pereira needs to improve, because Andres Pereira has also been a huge disappointment. Andres Pereira, I think, has had 1 good game this season. That was obviously against Arsenal. I thought he did really, really well against Arsenal. Lindelof analysing his performances. I think he's had a couple of bad games this season, but I think prior to that, he's mainly done well. I think he's actually blended in alongside Harry Maguire, in that backline fantastically well. But Lindelof, to be fair, is flourishing at Manchester United, if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But like I mentioned, we have got a lot of young upcoming players in the squad. Got a lot of young players that are developing and trying to improve Manchester United. And like recently, Ole Gunnar Solsjaker mentioned, there isn't many clubs that have our stature of obviously playing the young players, and the vast majority of the younger players have been given their chances this season. Don't get me wrong, I don't think all the young players are going to become a fruition at Manchester United and become obviously successful. I think there's only maybe a couple of young upcoming players that will become a success at Manchester United. I think one of the successful ones will be Mason Greenwood, without a shadow of a doubt, because like I did mention about him, by the time he's 23, 24 years of age, I think Mason Greenwood can become a world-class centre-forward in my opinion. And I think, his valuation will start to grow as he keeps developing and, getting better in that. But Solskjaer did assure that Greenwood anyway will get more minutes under his belt. But for me, in the aspects of Greenwood playing as number 9, I think, and he's more effective as a number 9, but I think he's a much better solution than Marcus Rashford at the moment. And he's actually about 3.5 years younger than Rashford, because Greenwood just recently turned 18 years of age at the beginning of this month. But Greenwood did well throughout pre-season. He's done well in the games he's played this season. Greenwood obviously has made around 5-6 substitute appearances in the Premier League this season. So Mason Greenwood has not yet started from the start in the Premier League, but he did start in the Rochdale game in the Carabao Cup and the FC Astana game in the Europa League, and scored in them 2 particular games. So came up with that moment of quality. But yeah, very, very good young player is Greenwood. I also do believe that Tuan Zebe, I think he's another young upcoming player, that will become a success at the football club. Without a shadow of a doubt, I think Tuan Zebe will become a success. I think in the games he's played in this season, he has done really, really well. Like I mentioned, he played at left-back against Arsenal. He played at centre-back alongside Maguire in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle. Lindelof didn't actually play the game against Newcastle, surprisingly. But yeah, Tuan Zebe is obviously getting more chances, which is good. We have got it's good in the aspects that we've got quite a few, versatile, defenders in that. Tuan Zebe is versatile. You've got Rojo, that's versatile. You've obviously got, you've got obviously, Young, he's versatile, but is obviously predominantly a right back. But yeah, we've got quite a few, to be quite honest with you. But Tuan Zebe, I think he'll definitely become a success at the football club. Like I mentioned, maybe we should orchestrate on maybe loaning some of the young upcoming players out, because I don't think all of them are going to be succeed at Man United, and maybe some of them aren't good enough to represent Manchester United. They're not Manchester United quality, basically. I've got some element of concerns about Chong. Don't forget, Chong had received loan offers this summer from PSV and his former club Feyenoord. I think Chon overall now is into his 4th season as a Manchester United player. I think Chon has obviously played him a couple of times so far this season. But yeah, I've got some element of concerns about him. Obviously, we've got Angel Gomez. He's another one of our midfield options, don't forget. Angel Gomez has actually played quite a few times this season. Obviously, we've got Diego Dalot. I think Diego Dalot needs to be given more time at the club. Don't forget, he's only been at Man United since last summer. We paid just under, £20 million for him from Porto. We've got Jimmy Garner. I think he played a couple of times throughout pre-season, but so far this season, hasn't played. Jimmy Garner. And, McTominay, I think, analysing his performances so far this season, I think McTominay, to be fair, has been mainly consistent. I'll credit him for that. In regards to him being a long-term solution for Man United, I have got, obviously, element of concerns about that. These question marks around McTominay, can he keep the consistency up? And I hope he can. I thought he had a really bad game against Newcastle, McTominay. So did Fred. But I think prior to that, McTominay has done really, really well. Because McTominay and Fred, looked so exposed in the 1-0 defeat to Newcastle. But McTominay has deserved to keep his place in the team. He's actually our preference over Matic, because Matic has initially lost his place in the team, to McTominay. With Fred, I've got the same, opinions about Fred, than what I've got of McTominay. I don't know if Fred is the long-term solution for Man United. He hasn't performed, nowhere near to the standards of how McTominay has performed. But, I think he's still, had a good couple of games this season as Fred. And I would give Fred, in my opinion, everyone have a different opinion, I would give him more time at the football club, because Fred has only been here since last summer. Maybe some people believe Fred's not Man United quality in that, and he's not good enough to represent the football club. But Fred, was an exceptional player at Shakhtar Donetsk, but, he hasn't really replicated this at Manchester United so far. But for me, I would give him more time. But yeah, that's my opinions on that. But for me, obviously, we need to see further investment in January, and of course, perhaps next summer, because you can still see the deficiencies in the Man United squad. And if Solskjaer is to be still here by January, which I can't see happening, obviously I think he's still keen on sticking to the policy of recruiting young British players, obviously like he did do earlier on in the summer. But he's obviously, already making plans for the January window. Some people believe that obviously Manchester United need at least 4 to 5 world-class players, if we are to be back, to where we want to be, and if we are to be back to being a competitive elite-level football club. But I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has identified, the areas, where he thinks Man United need to strengthen up. I think his priority is to recommend the striker in. Obviously, one of the main priority areas is that, that midfield. Don't forget, for the majority of the summer, we was in search for a right winner. So these still areas in the squad, where Man United, of course, are lacking. But, I think, the 3 players we brought in during the summer, we've seen glimpses of how good they are. They've all done really, really well. Daniel James has, mainly enjoyed a great start. He's enjoyed a great start to his Manchester United career. I think Wan-Bissaka's settled in really, really well. A lot of people believe, actually, that Wan-Bissaka has been our most consistent signing. Harry Maguire's also, done really, really well. We paid £80 million for Harry Maguire, and I will agree on the aspects that I do believe, the football club, did overpay for Harry Maguire. And I said in these markets this day and age with certain players, you have got to overpay for them. But I think he's, settled in, really, really well. And if I'm going to be quite honest with you. But during the summer, like I mentioned, we didn't address all the problematic areas, but I did say it was going to be extremely difficult for us, to address all the problematic areas in one summer transfer window. So this is maybe one of the reasons why people are saying we do need to give Ole Gunnar Solskjaer more time, because obviously, analysing the majority of this Manchester United team, it's actually Jose Mourinho's. So Solskjaer is inheriting the vast majority of Jose Mourinho's players. Don't forget, so we can take that into account. But anyway, I don't think, Solskjaer is the right man for Manchester United. I think, the only reason that, the board will stick with Solskjaer, but I think the only reason he's here at this present time is because obviously we know that Solskjaer was a club legend, and I think, the board, realise this, so obviously, they're softening their stance, obviously, on Solskjaer, but obviously if it was any other manager now, I think, he would have been sacked, to be quite honest with you, but like I said, it's, worse under the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer era, than what it was, under the Jose Mourinho era. It's even worse than it was under the David Moyes era, and that, it's even worse than then, to be quite honest. That's how bad it's got. But a few other mistakes Manchester United did. One mistake Ferguson did, this was the only one mistake he did, was recommending David Moyes into the job. He should have never recommended David Moyes in that, because we knew when, at the time, Moyes got announced in, we knew it was never going to work out. We knew he wasn't going to have a long tenure anywhere. And Moyes obviously, never dealt with top players. He never had that proven pedigree, despite the fact he did a pretty decent job with Everton, but obviously, Everton are an average team and that. I think he managed Everton for around, 9 or 10 years and that. But I think the main factor reason at the time why Ferguson recommended Moyes in, because obviously, they were both Scottish, and, I think they had a good friendship and that. So these are the couple of reasons why he did this. But in my opinion, I think Ferguson should have recommended Jose Mourinho in after he retired, and I think you could arguably say, I can't assure anything, but I think you could arguably say if Ferguson had recommended, Mourinho in after he retired, then I think it would have been a sort of different scenario with Manchester United, because, back in the day, Jose Mourinho, was, one of the best managers in the world, and that, obviously he's got that proven pedigree. I think he's won stuff and that, everywhere he's been. Obviously won a couple of titles and that with Chelsea, didn't he? I think he did win the Champions League. I can't remember what team it was. Was it with Inter Milan he won the Champions League, or was it with Real Madrid, or it might have been Porto, but he did win the Champions League, either way. Obviously, he won, the Europa League and the League Cup with us in his first season at the football club. But I think we recommended Jose Mourinho in far too late. Obviously, Mourinho came in after the sacking of Louis van Gaal, and we just recommended him in too late, to be quite honest with you. And, Mourinho had 2.5 years at Manchester United, so he's actually had the longest tenure at the football club, since the Alex Ferguson era. So all the managers we've had since Ferguson, he's obviously had the longest tenure as Mourinho. But I've given you the reasons why it didn't work out under him, because obviously reflecting back last summer, the board weren't back in the signings that I did want to recommend into the football club. He also had a silly obsession with tall players, and that this is probably one of the reasons why he obviously recommended Matic and that in, and Lukaku, because I think he had some kind of obsession, with, taller players. He also didn't work out under him because, he had bad disputes with the top players. Like I mentioned, the board went back in the signs that I wanted to recommend in last summer. Obviously, there was no sort of philosophy under Mourinho that was good. It was part of the bus football. The style of play, wasn't right. These are the reasons, why it didn't work out under Jose Mourinho. But Mourinho spent a substantial amount of the football club. He spent just under £400 million, and he recommended 11 players into Mourinho. It's around 11 players anywhere. But yeah, it's a lot worse now under the Solskjaer era, than what it was under the Jose Mourinho. And I think Mourinho finished second, was it, in his first season with Man United? Or it might have been his second season. He finished second with Manchester United and that. Like I mentioned, under Louis van Gaal, obviously I don't think at the time I thought when we recommended Van Gaal and it was going to, work out and that, because obviously, when we did get Van Gaal at the time, he did really, really well with Bayern Munich at that time before he came to United, and he only had like a year, was it, or a year and a half at Manchester United. Louis van Gaal, he obviously didn't have the right sort of philosophy. But I want Solskjaer to last at Manchester United, but I just know, he's not going to last at Man United. But I said, regardless who our manager is, even if we had, a manager to the highest level now with a proven pedigree, they wouldn't replicate what Ferguson did. And like I mentioned, Solskjaer can't invoke Ferguson's legacy at Manchester United and that. We're never going to be the team that we was under Alex Ferguson. We know that, when we recommended Alex Ferguson in back in 1984, Ferguson didn't win out in his first 4 years, and that with Manchester United. We do know that. But obviously back in the old generation, managers got the time that they would have liked and that, no manager now, if they were doing bad, would get, 4 years. They're probably lucky to even get a year, to be quite honest with you. But, look what Ferguson went and accomplished, after, that 4 year period. We had 20 odd years of success under him. Well, Ferguson obviously, served 26 years at Manchester United, of course, won 38 trophies, and that with a football club. Obviously, the vast majority of the trophies we have won obviously came under Ferguson. Obviously, I think we won 42 all in all. But yeah, and I did say now I hope that this team at this day and age, can replicate, what the team did and that under Alex Ferguson. But obviously, I've got huge doubts about it. But yeah, definitely more players need to lead the football club. I think Solskjaer's recently also come out and mentioned that he instructed Ed Woodward to get rid of 9 players during the summer. But yeah, and some people believe that us getting rid of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, will not solve a lot of problems at Manchester United. Well, at this moment in time, anywhere. But I think it's in my opinion, we're not going to beat Liverpool after the international break because, like I mentioned, Liverpool are on fire. Liverpool have won 8 out of 8, so far this season. They're sitting top of the league. They've registered 24 points. Liverpool have got some really, really good players. And, to be fair, I hate to say it, but Jurgen Klopp is doing a really, really good job. Like I mentioned, he hasn't really won much silverware as a manager. He only won his first major honour with Liverpool last season. That was, of course, the Champions League. I think Liverpool have won 43 major honours, so I think they are one ahead of us, all in all. They've won 6 Champions Leagues, of course, like I've just said. And Liverpool were unlucky not to win the league last season. Don't forget, Liverpool have never ever won the Premier League since it got named in 92, 93 and that. And that's their expectations, of course, to win the Premier League. They haven't won it all in all, for 3 decades. But Manchester United, Liverpool, even though we're, Liverpool, couple of years, I'd say 3 or 4 years ahead of us. It's still a big fixture is Manchester United and Liverpool. Obviously, they are the 2 most successful, decorated clubs in English football, basically, because the 2 most successful clubs in that. Obviously, Liverpool have only won twice at Old Trafford, though, in the last 10 years, and that obviously the last time they beat us in the league at Old Trafford was back in 2014, and that was under the David Moyes era. The game at Old Trafford last season, of course, was 0-0. But Liverpool have done well, and Liverpool have been sensible with their recruitment, and look what position they're in now. We wasn't sensible with our recruitment. We obviously overpaid for players, and Liverpool have obviously been sensible with their recruitment. Liverpool didn't get anyone this summer, they didn't get anybody this summer, but they invested well in the previous couple of windows. Obviously they paid 75 million for Van Dijk. Obviously they got Allinson, who's a really, really good goalkeeper. They've got 2 good fullbacks, Andrew Robinson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. They've got a good attacking trio in Salah, Firmino, and Mane. They've got Jorginho Wijnaldum, who's good for them. Fabinho stepping up to the plate now for Liverpool. So they have, got a really, really good team, and they show a good attacking intent. They can create chances. They score a lot of goals in that. They've got a lot of fluidity in the team. And yeah, they play with a high line, and they're playing much, much better than Manchester United at the moment. So if we can salvage anything from Liverpool, we've got to be really at our game, and we obviously we have got to put a performance out, because we haven't performed this season. Yeah. But like I did mention, Manchester United have not, only spent big in the last, 6 or 7 years. We've also now got players on big contracts at the football club. Like I mentioned, you've got Anthony Martial on 200 grand a week. Like I mentioned before, Martial got injured. I thought he did really, really well. Got Rashford on nearly, 300 grand a week. You've got Pogba on just under 300 grand a week. You've got, De Gea. De Gea is the highest paid goalkeeper in the world. He's on 375 grand a week is De Gea. Obviously the highest paid as well at the football club. Obviously De Gea's been another long servant. He's been here since the Ferguson era. De Gea is now into his 9th season at Manchester United. He's been here 8 years and that. And, analysing the majority of his Man United career, I've been mainly impressed with him. Obviously, I'd say he's had, 7.5 good years out of, the 8 he's been here and that, because I think he's performed to his standards as I expected this season. Wasn't too good in the last couple of months of last season. Was making a lot of mistakes last season. There was De Gea, but that was mainly to do with the contact tool situation. But overall, I think De Gea is the best goalkeeper in the world. I think now at this present time he's not. I think probably Allison's as good as him at the moment. Probably even Manuel Neuer's even as good as him at the moment. But you can't argue what he's done there for the football club. He's won everything here domestically. He's not far now from making 400 appearances for the club in all competitions. But yeah, I'm actually glad we kept him at the football club, De Gea. Obviously, we've loaned a couple of goalkeepers out as well. Obviously, we've got Romero, who's obviously our second choice goalkeeper. I think Romero's got 2 years left on his deal. I think he's under contract till 2021, but I think there's also an option of Verviers, if I'm right. He mainly plays in the cup games and that, does Sergio Romero. Obviously, Lee Granson, one of the backup options. He was injured, don't forget, earlier on in the season. We've got, obviously, Harry Maguire. He's on around, 200 odd grand a week. We give McTominay a new long-term contract last season. I think Andres Pereira signed a new deal earlier on in the summer. Juan Mata got a new contract, don't forget, earlier on in the summer. I'm surprised he got a new contract, and obviously reflects on his age and that. And he's actually initially, not first choice anymore. And a lot of people do believe now that, he has lost that yard of pace as Mata, but you can't argue again what he's done for the football club. Mata's been at Man United 5 years. He's now into his 6th season. He mainly makes a lot of substitute appearances now, doesn't really get them starts anymore, does Mata. But, some people, would still, go with Juan Mata because, he can play really, really well. He still can score goals when he wants to. Mata has obviously made over 200 appearances for the club in all competitions, I think, since his arrival from Chelsea back in 2014. And he's done really, really well as Juan Mata. So I'll also, admire his career at the football club. But yeah, he did sign a new deal earlier on this summer. So yeah, we have got players on big contracts at the football club. And like I mentioned on my recent videos and that, who should replace Ole Gunnar Solsjaker at the football club? We have got a list of managers on our agenda who could replace him. Recent reports have indicated out that obviously, Massimiliano Allegri is the priority. He's the number one priority to replace Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I've been reading recent reports today. It says reportedly Massimiliano Allegri will only take the Manchester United job if he is assured to be given the job within the next few weeks and that. Maybe, obviously, we do get a new manager in. Obviously, we're probably going to have to show whoever it is, we're going to have to show the manager, substantial amounts to spend. So we'll probably have to come up with a transfer kit of maybe around £400-500 million, maybe even more than that. But Massimiliano Allegri reportedly he's the primary candidate, and a lot of talks have been going on about him for the last couple of weeks. We know he's managerless anyway at the moment. He recently stepped down as Juventus manager earlier on in the summer. He's got the experience. Obviously, he's been managing since 2003, so he's had obviously over 16 years of experience. He's had over 16 years of managerial experience. Obviously, he's never managed in the Premier League or played in the Premier League, and that he's actually spent the entirety of his managerial career in Italy, and he actually spent the majority of his playing career, or should I say, the entirety of his playing career in Italy. So I think he's the likely candidate to come in. Maybe a lot of United fans would like to see him come in, and that. Do you think he'd suit the strappings of the football club? Do you think he'd elevate the club forward? There's obviously Pochettino. Pochettino's still getting spoken about, but obviously Pochettino is not the first choice now. He's not first choice, he's Pochettino. Don't forget, we was in for Pochettino, before Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, got recommended into the football club. We was in for Pochettino for a long, long time, and that. Obviously Pochettino's under pressure at Tottenham, like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's under pressure at Man United. I think Pochettino probably will end up getting sacked from Tottenham, and if he did have the chance to come to Manchester United, I think he'd grasp that opportunity without a shadow of a doubt. But at the time, our preference was Solskjaer over Pochettino because, Solskjaer's a cheaper solution. Obviously he knows the culture and that of the football club. And, with obviously Pochettino, we'll have to probably pay around £32 million in compensation to recommend him into the football club. Pochettino signed a 5-year contract with Tottenham last summer. And I think it's worth around £8.5 million a year. Obviously, I don't think there's a release clause inserted in that contract as well. I don't think there is. But a lot of people believe that Mauricio Pochettino would be the right man for Manchester United. Pochettino's now into his 6th season at Tottenham. Obviously, he's been there 5 years in that, and I think he's done really, really well. He's good at developing young players, and a lot of people believe he would be the right candidate. And mainly the concern about Pochettino is that obviously he's not won out in terms of silverware, so that's obviously something else that concerns me. But Pochettino's well Premier League proven, and I thought he had a great tenure when he was at Southampton, but he only had a really short tenure with Southampton. Before he was at Southampton, obviously he managed Espanyol, so he's been managing since 2009, so he's had obviously over a decade of experience as Pochettino, but he's still on that list anyway. Obviously, there's been recent talks about Arsene Wenger. Obviously, there's been talks about him going on. I think it's unlikely he'll come in. He is managerless though at the moment. It's Arsene Wenger. Don't forget, I think he resigned as Arsenal manager earlier on in the summer. No, sorry, not early on in the summer. Should I say last summer, I think it was. Should I say he resigned as Arsenal manager? Sorry. Obviously Wenger served 22 years with Arsenal. Obviously, Wenger and Ferguson obviously are the two longest serving managers in England, of course. Obviously, I think Wenger had a good legacy with Arsenal. I think he had 12, 13 good years out of the 22 out of the 22 years he was there. You can't. We can't, put him onto obviously, Ferguson's legacy, because obviously Ferguson's legacy was much, much better. But yeah, do you think Wenger, would be the right man for Manchester United? I think, recent reports indicated out saying that he was interested in the Lyon job, was Wenger. Obviously, he's originally from France anyway. Lyon are French. Obviously, I think he's turned down some offers there from the Premier League and that. So who should come in, to replace Ole Gunnar Solsjaker at the football club and that? But there is quite a lot of managers that have been mentioned and that. But yeah, we will see what happens. And I do believe, some of the players, we was in for during the summer, probably more than likely, we will reignite our interest in some of them in January. Maybe we will leave some until next summer. But like I said, we will see what happens. But anyway, guys, drop your comments below on the channel. Like I mentioned, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is on his last chance at Manchester United, so he's basically on thin ice, basically. I will be back with more live videos tomorrow, as usual, and take care, God bless, guys, and I'll see you all again very, very soon. Thank you for watching.